Hello YouTube, I'm Frostfire, and in this series, I briefly talk about my current and past furry slash anthro crushes. Normally, furries talk about multiple in one video, but I am going to dedicate one video per crush to spread it out a bit, and since I know future crushes are inevitable, it makes more sense to me to do it this way rather than having to make an entire video full of crushes now, but needing to wait long enough to add more crushes for a second video later. Anyway, let's start off the series with probably my second oldest furry related crush. Before I talk about the crush in question, let me give you a brief rundown about the series he's from. 3-1 Penguins is an American sci-fi computer-animated Christian children's television / direct-to-video series released on November 14, 2000 by Big Idea Entertainment, the same company that made VeggieTales. The plot centers around two twins, Jason and Michelle, spending the summer at their grandma's cottage. The first episode is one I hold dear to my heart, as I owned it on DVD and watched it religiously. Without spoiling too much about this episode, it centers around both kids, but mainly around Jason, as he is a catalyst for the entire series existing at all, really. By the way, if you want to see the first episode yourself, I've linked it in the description. In this debut episode, both Jason and Michelle struggle to take turns playing with their new video game / console, and also with their late grandpa's telescope. Jason's impatience and inevitable boredom cause him to make do with what he had around him. When Jason stumbled upon a toy rocket ship in a box in his grandma's attic and borrowed 4 penguin figurines that his sister found just by the staircase, he shoved the 4 flightless birds into the ship and played with them using his imagination. Tripping over a toolbox, he accidentally dropped the rocket ship, but instead of it breaking when it fell into an open cardboard box, the ship bounced out of the box, then bounced several times onto the attic floor, and finally hovered into the air. Jason was understandably perplexed. Those 4 penguin figurines were real, and stated that they needed Jason's help. With a device that shrinks anyone to the penguin's size and pulls them into the ship, Jason met the 4 birds. First was the ever-so-vain rockhopper penguin, Captain Zigel, then the brainy and well-mannered macaroni penguin, Dr. Vigil, next the pilot/engineer first officer Adelie penguin, Midgel, and finally the deceptively ignorant emperor penguin, Kevin. The individual we're focusing on for this video is Midgel. To list some reasons why he was such a huge crush for me, Midgel's quite funny, something that becomes evident throughout the series. He's good looking, better looking than Zigel. He's a pilot, which somehow makes him attractive. I don't know. He plays the double bass, which of course would come to bite me on the tail later on, when bass overall would become my special interest later in life. He's an engineer, which means he's no dummy, and his Australian accent suits him well to make him more attractive, which is hilarious because not only did I not know that he even had an accent as a kid, this is also the only time that an Australian accent has ever been attached to a crush of mine before. Not that that's bad, it's just a simple observation. One final kind of insignificant note is that his wink is almost as good as another anthro crush of mine that I will eventually talk about in this series, but it's not quite as good. Who am I kidding? It still gives me chills, just a smidge. Midgel is an old flame, hence why he's so low on my list of crushes. If he didn't still make my heart flutter a little bit and wasn't such a huge deal to me in terms of history of crushes, he'd be listed as an honorable mention. That's honestly all I got to say about Midgel, really. For as deep-rooted as this crush is, there really isn't much I can discuss about him. Plus, when I crushed on him, it was a very long time ago, so I can't really remember what my younger self felt when I crushed on him. But, I mean, this is me we're talking about, so it probably wasn't any different than my crushes today. However, no matter how superficial it might seem as a crush, the fact that I crushed on him at all means a lot because it was part of the building blocks of me becoming a furry years later. Plus, it helps that 3-2-1 Penguins is a Christian cartoon, and Midgel is the only Christian-based character I've ever crushed on, so that's neat. Alright, so that's all I got for you today, and until we meet again, stay floofy.